Nickel Boys. Oh my God, this movie right here. A lot of people haven't gotten a chance to see it yet. I think it will be releasing again soon, hopefully, in a larger variety of cities. But Nickel Boys is, I don't even know where to start with this film for me personally, man. This movie is based off of a book by Colson Whitehead, very amazing Pulitzer Prize winning author. If you haven't read any Colson Whitehead's work, please go and do so. It's really good. But also the director RaMell Ross, a black man, he had a I think it was a documentary. What was it? It was like maybe 5 years ago called Hell County. This evening, just go watch it, and I think you'll understand that Nickel Boys was his next obvious thing that he was going to do. And Nickel Boys is it's a movie about a black boy who ends up, he has college dreams, but he ends up in kind of what's called the Nickel Academy, which is reformatory school in Jim Crow South. And I think your mind can take you and do whatever you need to do with that information. But he does this thing with the camera where a lot of it is from a point of view standpoint, and the technicality and the difficulty in conveying, I think, this story and the way that it does, it's so heartfelt. It's so there's a lot of ingenuity behind it when you watch it. You're like, I've never seen a movie like this, especially tackling, I think, the subject matter that it's tackling in this way. It makes it so intimate. It makes it so interesting, but also heartbreaking. And like I said before, I did leave like angry, like, oh my God, or my fists were clenched, but I also couldn't. This movie did not leave my mind for a second in watching it. I still think about it. I haven't even seen it for a second time yet, and I'm over here like, this movie is. I really think it's that good. The cinematography is fire. I really like this movie a lot, man. I can't wait until more people see it so we can have more conversations about it. I think it's worth seeing. I think more people need to get their eyes on it, but I think when more people do, it's going to be one of those movies that no one ever forgets watching, and that's for sure.
Yeah, Nickel Boys. I was very much anticipating this movie for a few months. Had heard about it out of the New York Film Festival, and it's tackling, as you said, some really difficult subject matter that will make you angry by the time you finish it off, because it's all of this stuff is inspired by real things. Like what we see in the Nickel Academy in the movie is based off of a real academy that exists, the Dozier School for Boys. And so all of these stories that are included here are very much inspired by real life happenings. And RaMell Ross, because he does have that documentary background, absolutely adds all of that stuff to this movie. I mean, there's a lot of archival footage in the film that pulls from real life stuff. And RaMell Ross, for him to be basically a first-time feature-length filmmaker with this film, to do this, I got to give it up to him, because I admire the bold choices that he made in this movie with this POV style of shooting, and it's shot from only two perspectives. So whatever we see as an audience is what the characters are seeing. And it's not a groundbreaking approach. It's been done before, but it's not done often, because it is a really, really challenging thing to pull off. And I know for a lot of people, it's one of the things that they are lauding him for, because for many people, they do feel like he pulled it off. I do think that your enjoyment of this film will be contingent upon whether or not you can get past that creative choice, because it is a choice, and it's one that's very distinct, very different, very unconventional. And I do think for me, at some points, it created a bit of a disconnection between myself and the emotional nature of the story. Sometimes I was a little confused, like, who are we following right now? That happened a couple of times. And I think also, too, like, you could just tell watching the movie that there's like so much attention that's put into the production design and the costumes and the environment. Like, this is a really real thing that they've created here. And, sometimes I wonder, like, am I missing certain details because we're shooting it this way? Like, am I getting the full effect of the storytelling that's happening in the film from a physical perspective? Because I can't see things in the way that we traditionally see them. So I'll be honest and say that a part of me kind of wish I watched this at home, because I saw it in a theater, and I feel like maybe watching it at home, and I'll never say this about anything. Y'all know me, like, y'all know how I am about the movies, but I do wonder if this might have benefited me, just me personally. I don't know about everybody else, but me personally, I wonder if I would have benefited from watching it at home more. Because in the theater, I was getting a bit frustrated at the choices, just because, again, shooting from that perspective, it's really challenging.
Yeah.
You can't always see the emotions of the characters, that you're following, because you're like looking through their eyes. That's certain stuff that, like, I'm very much an emotion guy when it comes to movies. Like, I'm all about emotion, and if I can't see certain emotions, I'm like, so how am I supposed to feel here? I kind of feel muted in certain respects. And I do
Mhm.
know also, like, after sort of skimming the book in certain respects, that there's a lot of extra detail and backstory for other characters that they cut out for the movie, just to really focus on two characters. That's probably the right decision, so that it's not like a 5 hour long movie. But a part of me wanted to maybe get a little bit more about the backstory of some of the other boys that are in the school, because
Mhm.
we really just focus on two characters. And I do wonder maybe if it would have benefited from maybe some other perspectives, other backstory, where they come from, their families. Like, the book dives
Right.
into that stuff quite a lot. And I also wonder maybe if reading the book might be advantageous for people too before watching the
True.
movie. This
Yeah.
might be one of those rare situations where, like, the book and movie, they might go hand in hand, and
Yeah.
that's not
That's very
always the
possible.
case. They
Mhm.
can be very much companion pieces. I want to watch it again though, at home, and see how my feelings might evolve or change or stay
Mhm.
the same. I don't know. But I will, again, I have all nothing but praise to say about RaMell Ross, just like with the creative direction behind the movie. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's doing stuff like this to this degree, because it's a really risky thing to do. And again, for him to just come, and do this, like, on his first time feature film, it's pretty admirable. I definitely got to give it up to him for that respect. I wish we were hearing about it more though, in these conversations about
Man.
award seasons. It did get nominated, I think, for one award at the Golden Globes. I don't know. I don't know, man. This is like again, it's a really challenging movie.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't go as far as to say it's divisive. I don't think that's the case. It's pretty beloved
Uh-huh.
at this point.
Yeah.
But there
It's not
are
people like
there
it.
are
Yeah.
people definitely challenging the nature and the notion of it, just because of, like, the cinematography and the choices behind
Yeah.
it. And that really
Mhm.
might turn some people off. I don't know. Do you think that might affect its chances at more recognition? Like, could this be something that might not get nominated for any Academy Awards, or do you think it might be represented in certain I don't, maybe best adapted screenplay or best
Mhm.
cinematography? Is it a shoe in for that? I don't know. What are your thoughts on just, like, its chances there?
It's hard to say because I think for a little bit, early or even pre-award season, I would say you did see it kind of creeping up and popping up in some people's either lists or people thinking about like, huh, what about Nickel Boys here and there, and so I don't really know. I think that could be a choice that it's so interesting. It's like both a choice that could win it in those some of those rooms, right? The cinematography is both a choice that could put it in some of those rooms, but also potentially take it out of some of those rooms. It's kind of hard to tell, I think, in that sense. And again, my other thing about it, I'm not sure how many people have actually seen the movie. Like I've seen, there's a couple of, I think, film pundits I follow. Of course, they have seen it, and I think from some of those people, they love the movie. I know a lot of like it's like a critical, and in some ways, it's a critic darling. But I don't know. I can't imagine a ton of people have actually sat down and decided to watch the film. And I think that's one of the hard parts about it as well. In some ways, it kind of has the Sing Sing problem. It's like, oh, this movie is great, but who's seen it? You know what I mean? And so I don't know. I think it has some hills to climb in that way. I don't know if it'll finally release in more theaters the same way Sing Sing is about to next week. You know what I mean? I hope it has that run, but I think more eyeballs need to get on it to see if and maybe that'll even help some of the contention and maybe what it will do in award season. I'm really interested as well. I really don't know.
Yeah, even outside of that, I mean, one thing that I certainly did love out of the movie, which is no surprise, Anjanae Ellis Taylor, in her role. Um, I really, really, really wish she would get recognition for that. I don't know if it's going to happen. It's probably unlikely at this point, but she should,
Man,
because she's good as always. She's just good as always.
it's good as
Just
always.
good as always. Just, you just show up and see her in a movie, you just know you're going to get something that's
You
just
know it.
absolutely phenomenal from her. So we'll see in due time.